Well, good morning and welcome to our live event here at Lakeside, focusing in on our precision farming products as well as our features exclusively for you, an internal audience. Today we have a multifaceted group to present to you today to talk about our advanced farming systems. And we have a few housekeeping items as we work into this presentation. Being that this is a live event, we need to record your attendance. There's a couple different ways we're going to do that. We have attendees here at Racine, Wisconsin. They are meeting in the Ops Annex building. We'll have Kate Nelson, who is in our marketing communications group, have an attendance sheet. Please fill that out. For those of you that are online, please send a note, an email to caseihevents@caseih.com. Again, at caseihevents@caseih.com. That'll record your attendance. As well as we have a live meeting format. As a backup, we have the audio through our telecommunications group. And what you saw was a dial-in number as well as a code. Please do not use that if you're on the live meeting. That live meeting will allow you to, one, not only see us here in Racine, live from this Lakeside facility, but as well hear the audio. So that conference call number is just a backup. Let's get a little further into this as we look at this closer. Throughout the meeting, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. However, we're going to have you send that to my email address. So you'll see it leo.bose@cnhind.com. So submit those questions, as well as that gives us not only a solid record, but allows us to compile those throughout the next hour and a half to 2 hours and allow us to answer those questions that you have. So again, fill those out and submit it through. You know, this journey started for us back in 1994 with our first yield monitor, but what we're showing you here is our AFS internal training letter that went out. We're focused at increasing your knowledge of AFS precision solutions. And you notice that from Eric Weaver to Ryan Schaefer, we have a focus of 3 courses here that we want to get you ready for the Farm Progress Show here at the end of August. And again, we want to focus in on not only the introduction to auto guidance, but as well as an introduction to RTK Plus, those key selling features, but as well as an introduction to the precision farming concepts. And you'll see there's 2 items there in red. We're focusing in on selling telematics and data management. That'll soon be released. You'll see an announcement coming from Ryan Schaefer, our Director of Sales, focusing in on that course code you see there. As well as in that letter, you saw there was a 2-hour webinar, and that's today. And we're going to give you this live, in-person view of AFS Connect, as well as some additional solutions within the marketplace. So for us, this is a journey, and that journey started back in 1994, as we talked about. When we take a look at advanced farming systems, or AFS, when you look at the first 2 bullet points, machine control or guidance and application control, those are the core fundamentals of producers actually using it today. So what does it do? It locates and it steers that machine, or it locates and controls that machine. And then we look at the bottom 3, and that's what you're going to hear a little bit more about today and focus on where our vision is in the next 6 to 8 to 12 to 24 months of not only having connected machines, but also the data management side and the services that come with it. And then longer term is what are the analytics that we can use and drive through the data we're collecting through that vehicle, whether it's down to the customer level, to the dealer, or us at Case IH, or ultimately through CNH. As we look at this a little bit closer, we want to focus in on an area that we looked at our marketing personnel, and we made enhancements, and we actually grown our staff here on the AFS marketing side. So again, I handled not only the harvesting and the AFS side, but if you take a look on the left-hand side, Chris Dempsey is our AFS marketing manager for onboard solutions. There you'll see not only is he in charge of and responsible for displays, receivers, correction signals, but also those solution sets that we provide in the marketplace, as well as core and fundamental and foundation for our offering is AFS certification. New to our team, but not new to CNH or Case IH, is Kirk Wesley. He has joined our team over 30 days ago, and he's going to focus in on the offboard solutions, and that primarily focuses on telematics, AFS Connect, but also you're going to hear more about the VMS system, or Vehicle Management System, and that subscription tool on how we can look at additional revenue opportunities for not only you with the dealers, but ultimately driving return on investment for our customers. And then a key portion of this would be our data sharing, those third-party and second-party integrations, and fundamental, again, is the AFS certification. So we welcome, Kirk to our team, but again, we're going to see this expanding because over the next 8 to 12 months, you're going to see additional feature sets, whether it be on board and or off board. Now, customers have told us, sometimes it's not easy to find information at Case IH. We're taking a different approach, and this is introducing to you today the mycaseih.com vision. It's where we're going. We're offering a complete solution for our customers. What is this? Today we have about 22 different websites that are focused for customers to get information. We want to have single point of contact, but that contact allows them to have one place to go to. And that one place you'll see here allows them to, not only create an account, but they can manage their equipment. How awesome would it be to get an operator's manual? This will be the site that they'll actually go to get that operator's manual, quick reference cards, those videos, how-tos, as well as a parts and service link for their available equipment, as well as any other key areas, the support knowledge, that information that drives a resolution for them in the field, as well as a direct line into our AFS Connect portal. Now, with that, a transition slide here, we look at AFS Connect. And again, Kirk Wesley is brought into our team. He is primarily focused on AFS Connect and our telematics offering. And prior to that, we look at Chris Dempsey, who is our onboard solution marketing manager. We want to tee up exactly what AFS Connect is, and I want to bring him in and talk about what is the value proposition, not only to the customer, but as well as to the dealer as we see this as we move into the future. With that, I'll turn it over to Chris Dempsey.
Thank you, Leo. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time this morning. So as Leo said, we want to take a little bit closer look in the next hour or so on the AFS Connect portal as itself. And this is an all-new AFS Connect portal. And I say new because there have been significant enhancements made based off customer feedback, dealer feedback, you as internals. This looks completely different. Those of you who have seen the old portal, you won't even recognize it. And so the intent of the new AFS Connect portal is really to be a day-to-day management tool for our customers. You'll see that it's segmented into fleet, farm, and data, and we're really going to drive those pieces home here in the next hour or so. But before we do that, to Leo's point, I want to take a little bit closer look at the value propositions that we've written for AFS Connect. And this is the messaging that we're going to take into the market starting at Farm Progress Show here in a couple weeks. So the AFS Connect portal offers benefits for both customers and dealers. What they see is very similar. How they use it and the benefits that exist for them are quite a bit different. So for the customer, we look at for the technology and information-driven customer who needs the visualization of their fleet and agronomic data with the capability to seamlessly transfer that data to trusted partners. The new AFS Connect is the day-to-day tool for customers to access farm and machine information to enable them to make management decisions to optimize their time. And from a dealer perspective, focusing more on the fleet piece of this, for the dealers who want to provide a best-in-class customer experience by being a connected partner. AFS Connect provides the insight to fleet and agronomic data and integrates Case IH strategic partners to help drive overall dealership profitability. We connect you to your customers, to your dealerships to help you maximize support potential, increase service opportunities, all while optimizing sales. And so really, at the end of the day, the message that we want to put forth is Case IH connects you with your fleet, your farm, and your data. So another initiative that we've taken is to integrate AFS more into our whole goods. And so what we've done with our flagship products for model year 19, Magnum, Steiger, and the 250 series, which was recently introduced, is in the base offering of the vehicles, we have telematics hardware as well as a subscription. So on the left side of the screen here, we now see what our take rates have been up till now for telematics complete with a subscription. So we're at 81% for Magnum, 50% for Steiger, and 74% for the 250 series. I would like to point out that we have targeted a few dealers who have been placing orders, opting into the deduct, which you see in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. Obviously not something we are looking to advise, but understand the situation that we're in. The positive there is really that, these guys have come back and said, we've ordered a couple with it. We want to see how it goes. And if, we like what we see, basically, we'll go back and change those orders and adjust our ordering moving forward. So specifically, when we look at our Steiger customers, the number's a little bit lower, but we've had some really positive feedback. And so looking at AFS Connect as a whole, how does AFS Connect fit the market, right? So we're going to hear a lot about agronomic data and fleet data. So agronomic data is our yield maps, our as-applied maps, as-harvested maps, right? Those pieces. The fleet data is going to be your CAN data off your machines, fuel level, DEF level, things like that. And so how does what we offer with AFS Connect fit what's already in the market? And so what you can see here is the top of the screen has agronomic management and the bottom has fleet management. So I talked a little bit about how AFS Connect is the day-to-day management tool, right? So on the top portion of the screen, we have companies such as Climate Field View, Farmer's Edge. On the higher end of the spectrum, we have a FarmWorks or AFS desktop software or Ag Leader SMS. Those companies focus more on the agronomic pieces and creating prescriptions, analyzing that, soil maps, things of that nature. That's not what we're looking to do with AFS Connect. We're really looking for that to be the one-stop shop, very quickly understand productivity levels, where your machines are at, and then partner with those strategic companies to allow them to perform the agronomic pieces of this. Now, when we look at fleet management on the bottom side, that's really where AFS Connect excels. We have that access as CNH, as Case IH to our machine data, right? So we can see all of those CAN parameters that are proprietary that some of these other companies can't. So we look at fuel level, DEF level, machine faults, setting up notifications, things that are all going to be addressed as we move forward. So from a fleet and agronomic perspective, AFS Connect excels for the customer who really cares about their fleet data, understanding where their equipment's at, reports what's happened recently. And from an agronomic perspective, it really fits as a partner to these farm management systems that currently exist. So what we're going to do here for about the next hour or so is we're going to take a deeper dive into the AFS Connect portal. So Kirk Wesley is going to join us, as well as Matt Kurt. And what you're going to see is the marketing portal that currently exists for us as a marketing team. We have an 8250 Pro Demo machine on there that has been on the wheat run, so from Texas up to Canada. So you'll see some data that's been collected there, as well as some machines that are on there that we've used for photo shoots. So these are live machines. We have moved AB lines around with them. We've moved data around. We've tracked them. We've had a lot of interaction with this. So this is not just screenshots. So we're excited to bring that to you. So with that, I'll introduce Matt Kurt, who is an operations trainer, and Kirk Wesley, who is our off-board marketing manager.
Thank you, Chris. So like Chris said, my name's Matt Kurt, and I've been tasked today to provide a live demonstration of this new AFS Connect portal. And we'll be talking at detail about the different applications that make up the portal. So we'll be talking about the farm application, the fleet application, and the data application. And we'll be getting into each one of those pieces and demonstrating them in more detail. But before I actually get into the live demonstration here on the laptop, I'm going to hand it over to Kirk Wesley. Kirk is going to describe some key selling features to the farm app before I talk about it in detail.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to point out a few key selling features of the farm app, but before I do that, I do want to remind everybody that you can send your questions. We will get to those and answer them at the end, but you can send them to leo.bose@cnhind.com, and we will be pulling those off so that we can put those into an answer period and get you answers on all those questions that you have, I'm sure. So what we're going to look at, or what you see on the page right now, is the farm segment of the AFS Connect app, and what that area is the landing page that farmers will see when they come on. So the key selling features that we've got on that for the farmer are it's the location that you can gather and visualize your data. You can coordinate and optimize your field operations. You can easily see your total acres and then covered acres as the machine progresses across the field. You can also go with the export existing guidance lines and the boundaries, and we'll demonstrate that in the live app. And then also export season and setup data back there. So I'll turn it over to Matt, and we can get right into the demo and see those features. Matt?
All right, thank you, Kirk. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started with our demonstration. So what we're looking at here on my screen is the landing page of the new AFS Connect portal. So this is what the customer is going to see when they log in at the beginning of the day. So like Chris said, this is a totally different look and feel when compared to our previous portal. What we can see here towards the center of the page is a map that's going to show all of my connected vehicles. Okay, and if I scroll in, I can actually see not only my connected vehicles, but also can see some coverage data for some individual fields. So this is actual coverage data that was generated with that 8250 machine that Chris was talking about. So we'll get more into the map part of it in more detail here later on. But what I want to do here is actually direct our attention to the top left of the screen. So here in the top left of the screen, you see these 3 lines, okay? When I click on those 3 lines, that's going to open up my app drawer. So this is what I'm going to use to navigate to those different parts of the portal. So we talked about the different applications that make up the portal is the farm application, the fleet application, and the data application. We are now in the farm application. Like I said, when the customer logs in for the first time at the beginning of the day, they're going to land on the farm application. And that's what we're going to see here. So we're going to talk about this farm application in detail here. When we land on this page, we've got the map that shows all of our connected vehicles. But again, I want to direct our attention. We're going to start at the top left part of our screen where these 3 lines are. Okay, so I'm going to direct your attention to the top left. When I click on that, that's going to pull out what's known as the app drawer. So again, the app drawer is what allows us to navigate to the different applications that make up this portal. So we have the farm application, the fleet application, and the data application. Okay, so again, like I said, when the farmer logs in at the beginning of the day, they're going to land in the farm application. So that's where we are now. That's what we're going to talk about here at first. Okay, so we've covered the app drawer. The next thing I'm going to direct your attention to is here on the left-hand side of the screen. We can see our grower farm field hierarchy. So here at the beginning, I've got grower, RB, farm, Rat Brothers, and then underneath Rat Brothers, we have several fields. Okay, so we have several grower farm fields in here. This is all data, again, that was generated this past season on the wheat run. And we'll look at a couple of these different fields for examples. What I'm going to do, though, we're going to talk about how we can filter out. You can see that we have a lot of different fields to choose from. In order to quickly search out a specific field, as a customer, I have some tools at my disposal to do that. First of which is the search feature. So if I know the field name or the farmer name or the field, the farm or the grower name, I can actually just type that into the search feature. So I know that there is a field named 28, so I'll just go ahead and type in 28 into that search bar. And you'll see that it's filtered out everything that has 28 in the name. So that can allow me to quickly access any particular field on the left-hand side. If I clear that search bar, it just goes back to showing me all the different growers, farms, and fields. Additionally, we have this filter tool as well. So if I click on the filter, that's going to give me a couple drop downs available. So I can choose the grower drop down here. When I click on that, that's going to give me all the different growers that I have to choose from. So if I just want to view the fields that are associated with a specific grower, such as JT, I'll click on that, and that filters it out. So now I'm only seeing the fields that are underneath the grower JT and the farm JT farm. Okay, and I can go back up to this drop down, click on all growers, and that will show me everything again. So it all comes back. Additionally, if I want to drill down by the farm name, so I'll click on JT Farm. If I just want to view the fields that are underneath JT Farm, I'll click on that, and again, it filters it out. So I can go from that giant list of grower farm fields, and I can drill down to the specific field that I want to look at. Okay, so that is a overview of the data hierarchy on the left-hand side. One more thing I'll point out on this left-hand area before we move past it. You see next to each one of these field names, there's a little gray bar here. That is a status indicator. So these are all gray, which means there's no operation going on in that field at this time. If they were green, that would indicate me as a customer that I've got a machine in that field doing work, whether it's logging yield data or planting or something to that effect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay, so that is the high-level overview of what we can see in the left-hand area. Let's drill down into one of these specific fields. So if I click on Lloyd's 105, notice here how my map has changed. So when I click on Lloyd's 105, that's actually centered that particular field on my map. I can see on that field that I have some coverage data. It's tan in color, and there's a little icon next to that coverage data that looks like stalks of wheat. So what does that mean? Well, this legend over here, I'm going to expand on that. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom left where this legend is, click on this little button to expand it, and you can see all the different operations that we can view here on the map. So that stalk of wheat represents a harvesting operation. So if we were to have a planting operation, this coverage would actually be green, and there would be a little plant icon next to it. If it was spraying, that coverage would be blue. We'd have a water droplet next to it. And we have spreading, harvesting, mowing/baling, and tillage. So those are the different types of field operations that we can see on our map. So again, this just gives us a high-level view of the coverage. To reiterate Chris's point, this is not an FMIS or a desktop software. This is just simply showing me coverage that was generated by the display. It was communicated back to the portal via the modem installed on the machine. And then the other thing on this legend, remember earlier I mentioned the status icon on the left-hand side of the field name. And I mentioned that they're all gray here. So again, if there was an active operation happening in any one of those fields, that would actually be green. That little bar to the left of the field would be green. All right, so that is just a high-level view of some of the coverage that we can see. Let's drill into some more specifics that we can see for a particular field. So I'm going to go ahead and search one field out in particular, and that is that field 28 again. So grower Wilson, farmer Barr, field 28. When I click on that, that's going to center that field on the screen. Now this map does look a little different here. This is actually a really good thing to make note of. So what happened here, on the left-hand side, I've got some coverage, and on the right-hand side, I've got some coverage. So this is what happened is the machine logged some data in a field with the grower farm field name Wilson, Barr, and 28, picked up and went to another field without changing their field name. So this is one of those things we need to keep in mind with our customers to educate them the importance of data management, not only here on the portal, but at the display. But what I want to do, I've chosen this field in particular because I know there is some fairly good looking yield data on there. So what I'm going to do, this field 28, like I said, when we click on it, it's going to center it on the screen. But notice here on field 28, I have this little red arrow, that little caret symbol. When I click on that, that's going to take me into a more detailed view of the last field operation that happened in that field. So notice my left-hand area has changed. I no longer have the field list. I'm now showing the operation data for that field. So it's telling me here, all right, for year 2018, this field had an operation of harvesting winter wheat, and right now we are showing the elevation layer. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this particular field. So again, I'm showing the elevation layer. So right now, this detailed map, these different colors, are representing different elevations in the field. Now, on the left, when I pull up my legend, I can see the actual numbers that correspond with the different colors on the map. I can also see that there was a guidance line snapped on this field. So straight 1, this was the guidance line that was used here on the south border of the field when they were harvesting. So again, when we're logging data in the field, especially when we're conducting harvesting operations and logging yield data, we're actually logging several different attributes, not just yield, but example being elevation. We're also logging moisture. All those different attributes are shared back to the portal as well. So look here towards the bottom of the screen. I have elevation. So again, that's what I'm displaying on the screen, but I can toggle this little box back and forth. See these little arrows? I'm going to toggle, and I can see all the different attributes that were logged when that harvest operation took place. So what I've done here is I've toggled over to moisture, so we can see a nice moisture map for this field. Notice we actually have two different areas of two different characteristics of moisture in this field. So could be two different varieties, could have been something like a dew or a rain event in between. But I can see here on my Connect portal what happened in that field, and some differences going on already, some different geospatial data. Again, the legend is representing what's going on as far as I can associate what color to what moisture. Additionally, with this legend, notice I've got this little gear icon. If I click on that, that's going to allow me to enter the legend customization. So I can actually customize these legends for the data that I'm looking at. Right now, I've got automatically calculate values for each layer. So the two radio buttons allow me to transition from having those created automatically, the colors associated with values automatically, or I can click on this button and manually assign values for all the layers. So say I wanted a maximum value of 15% moisture and a minimum value of 10%, and then the legend customizer will interpolate in between those two values. They'll associate values with the colors, and I can click apply and customize that legend. Okay, so that is an example of some of the more detailed yield information. So we can see we have some pretty high resolution maps that we can do here. If I scroll in, you can actually see all the different data points. So actually it looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to back up here, back to my field list. And we'll go ahead and center Lloyd's 105 back on the field. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. Let's back up to that map. So this data that's being logged that we're seeing here on our map. So like I said, this is data that was logged on the Pro 700 display and then was communicated back to the portal through the modem installed on the machine. This type of data is communicated back to the portal about every 30 minutes. So it's not a continuous flow, but it is about every 30 minutes that the modem will update the portal with the coverage data on the display. And it'll also update if any major changes are made on the display. So, for instance, if we changed a grower name, farm name, if we changed our operation, something like that. And then additionally, it'll also send at a power cycle, so when I key the machine off for the end of the day, the modem will take all the CN1 data from the display and send it back to the portal. Okay, so now we can move back. Okay, so we've talked about the legend icons at detail, and we've talked about the color coding, so we're good there. But another thing that I'll mention as well, we have the ability to manually bring in data as well. So this is all data that has been generated by machines in the field with connected modems. But we also have the ability, if we wanted to, as a user, we could actually manually bring in some CN1 data as well. So, for instance, if I do not have any connected vehicles and I want to utilize the portal to view this kind of data, or maybe I've got several connected vehicles, but maybe one or two that don't have modems in them, I can actually bring in the CN1 data from those vehicles and view that type of operation data much like I can with the connected vehicles. And that's actually going to be a feature that's free to all users. But in order to do that, you'd simply click on this file transfer icon. So on the top right, you see these two arrows pointing in either direction. So if I wanted to actually upload a CN1 folder to view in this portal, I could do that here. Okay. And again, on this drop-down, this is a list of all the files that have been transferred back and forth already. So, like I said, we can manually bring in data from a not connected vehicle to view, but the portal also allows us the ability to bring in some of that CN1 data and send it back out. And we'll demonstrate that in a little more detail here shortly. Okay, so let's back up. We've covered the farm app with everything here available to us on the left-hand side as far as what we can view on the map from a high level, and then drilling down into more of a detailed map. And we've done that all while being on this field overview tab. Okay, so that's where we've been this whole time. Now I'm going to kick us over to the field data tab. So I'm going to click on that, and we'll notice a few things change on the screen. And here we go. So a couple things have changed. Notice my map has now gone away. The growers, farms, and fields are still here on the left-hand side. Again, the function to search those grower, farms, and fields is still there. I still have my search bar. I still have the ability to filter and drill down to a specific grower or farm if I wanted to. So all that is still the same, like it was when I was on the field overview tab, but here on the right-hand side, things have changed. So for Lloyd's 105, which is the field that I had selected, it's showing me the latest field operation that happened there. So this is my operation data. There was a harvesting operation there, so harvesting winter wheat, 2018. The yield average was 82.7 bushel to the acre, and the portal received that data from the machine on June 18th of 2018. Okay, so if we had several different operations that happened in that field, so for instance, if I had planting operation data, spraying, harvesting, etc., they would all be displayed here. But for this particular field, all I have is a harvesting operation. But if I wanted to, I could actually sort those back and forth with this operation name drop down, so you can sort the operation by ascending or descending order. So that's what's shown here. So just a high level summary of the operation data. Okay, so let's direct our attention up here. We're on operation data. I'm now going to click on setup data. Okay, Setup data is what's going to show me the different setup stuff such as guidance lines and boundaries associated with this particular field. So right here I can see I have a couple of guidance lines. So this is going to show me again that type of setup data that was generated in the display for this particular field. One thing that's really handy about this setup data feature though is I can actually send these guidance lines to other machines in my fleet. So say for instance these straight guidance lines were generated by an 8250 combine. I can send those guidance lines to the quad track that's following up that machine after harvest. I can send those to the quad track that's following up to do the tillage operation. And so let's go ahead and demonstrate that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this search function here on the top left and pick out a specific field. So this is actually Eugene Mills grower farm and field. So this is a field that was harvested recently here near Racine. So I'm going to choose that field. And notice we have several guidance lines associated with that field. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these guidance lines and we're actually going to send it to one of the machines in our fleet. So how do I do that? Here towards the sort of top right of the screen, I see this little box with a check mark in it. If I click on that, that's my selector tool. Notice now all these guidance lines have a checkbox next to them. Okay, so what I do is I just simply choose which AB line or which guidance line, whether it's straight, curved, heading, or whatever, whichever one that I want to send to the vehicle, I just simply select it. And then I see here on the top I have one selected, and I'll click send. So when I click send, I get this file transfer pop-up, and it's going to allow me to choose what vehicle I want to send that guidance line to. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to choose the AFS Magnum 310. That's the machine that we've got parked outside here at Lakeside. So we're going to go ahead and choose that machine, and we're going to send that guidance line out to it. So I've chosen that machine. I click confirm. Then I'll get this final confirmation. Okay, so I'm going to send the guidance line straight one from the field called Preserve to a vehicle called AFS Magnum 310, which again, like I said, is the one that we've got parked outside here. So I'll click send. Towards the bottom of the screen, I'll see a little pop-up saying that it was sent. When I click on this file transfer icon, I can see a summary of that as well. So it's preparing that guidance line to be sent out to the machine. So now what we'll go ahead and do is we'll transition to my colleague David Giroux out in the cab. So we've sent that guidance line to David. He's going to demonstrate in the display what the message is going to look like once that guidance line arrives.
All right, hello everyone. My name is David Giroux. This is the voice you're hearing. I am the AFS commercial trainer. You cannot see me because we have the camera focused in on the display, and what we wanted to do today was kind of give you guys the operational side from the tractor cab of an AB line transfer using AFS Connect. So Matt has just sent me a guidance line, and as you can see on the display, we have a pop-up message that says new files received. So this will require a key cycle in order to transfer the files to the USB card on the Pro 700 display. So what I'm going to do is hit OK, and then I'm actually going to turn the machine off. So while this is powering off, I want to cover a few points about AFS Connect AB line share. This is not an instant line transfer solution. So what does that really mean? This is more of a day-to-day operational solution. So picture a farm owner or a farm manager getting his crew ready for the day and pushing guidance lines, field boundaries, and prescriptions to that tractor to start the day off. So as said before, this is not instantaneous. Chris will actually talk about a more instantaneous transfer solution later with Climate AB line sharing. So that'll be an instant AB line share, and you do not have to key cycle the machine. So now that the AFS Pro 700 display has completely powered off, what I'll do is go ahead and turn the key back on, and I'll let the display boot back up. Alright, so what has happened now is we've pulled them guidance lines and shape files or what have you down from the cloud, and we now have them on the Pro 700 display. So what I'm going to do is select a grower, farm, and field on run 2. So the operator would know what field they're in, which for this one he had Eugene selected. So I will find Eugene. Oh man, he sent me a lot of growers. He must want me to get a lot done today. Alright, as you can see, farm and field automatically populated on the display. So now we're ready to run guidance. So I will switch to my guidance screen, which is on run 3. And as you can see, that straight 1 guidance line is pre-selected. So here are the files that have been transferred. We can select straight 1. And if we had a receiver on the tractor, you would see the guidance line populate in the map, and we'd be able to engage on that guidance line. So with that being covered, I think we can transfer it back inside to Matt. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you for that, David. So just a demonstration of that feature that will allow the customer to keep multiple machines lined up in the field at the same time. So, and again, that was a demonstration of the guidance line. We'd also see boundaries here as well if there was any associated with this field. So that was setup data. The last thing is conflicts. Just we'll touch on this really quickly. If there's any data conflicts, such as say the customer logged data in a field and gave it a grower farm field name, but the portal recognized that we already have some data associated with that field underneath a different grower farm field name, it's just going to tell me, hey, you've got some conflicting names here. Do you want to take this as applied data and match it up with this grower farm field hierarchy? So just an example of a way that this portal will help the customer with any data management issues to help keep things cleaned up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the field overview here. And we'll talk a little bit about the map one more time. So again, all my connected vehicles are available here. If I toggle over to vehicles in the field app, I can see my list of vehicles that are in my fleet. Again, each vehicle name has a little status and icon bar here. So I've got a little color next to that AFS Magnum 310 that we've got outside. This machine has a bluish color. When I pull up the legend, those colors represent different vehicle statuses. So this Magnum we've got sitting outside is simply key on, engine off. So that's what that color represents. This other machine operating down in the Mississippi River Delta looks like it's a turquoise blue, so we know that machine is moving. The rest of the machines in our fleet are gray, so that means that the engine's off. So let's go ahead and zoom into a particular machine. Actually, let's zoom into the one we've got here in Racine. So here's my AFS Magnum 310 that's parked at the Racine Lakeside facility. So I've got a little vehicle bubble. If I click on the AFS Magnum 310, that will pull up some information regarding that vehicle. So some just basic high-level information. So it's the vehicle name. I can see what the engine hours for that machine, what the fuel level is for it, and then the current speed. Right now it's just parked outside the door, so my current speed is not applicable. But if the machine was moving, we'd see that there. So even in the farm app, I can just see a really high level information about my fleet. But in order to see some detailed information about my fleet, we actually will need to go into the fleet app. So that's going to be the next part of this live demonstration. Before we go into the fleet app, though, I'm going to kick it back over to Kirk. Kirk is going to talk about some of the key selling features to the fleet app.
Great. Thanks, Matt. The slide that you're seeing here is the landing page that the dealer is going to see when he enters through the fleet. Everybody needs to remember that permissions are granted by the owner of the machine. So he's the person that's going to allow the dealership to view the different items on the screen where he goes into it. So in most cases, the operators will allow their dealer to come in, and some of the key selling features that we've got on that are pointed towards that dealer type of scenario. One of the things that they often like to see is the current location and the engine hours. We want to set up a way that we can track maintenance and so forth, schedule visits to the machine, and one of the most important and very time-consuming things that we see a lot of times is exactly where is this machine in its routine, and they want to drive directly to that instead of trying to check a neighborhood and see what's going on. Another selling point that you've got out there is check the unit status, key on, is it working, idling, so forth, and monitoring what's going on. But more importantly, as it's in operation or as it's doing its work, we also want to quickly visualize the faults that are out there. So we'll see that inside the portal, and Matt will show that also. Another thing is easily sort the faults. So we've got a high level fault, medium fault, and low fault. You get them all in there, but you may want to sort those, which we'll see in the portal also. And we want to see which are the urgent ones and which ones are routine faults that may not engage the dealership. Customized notifications is another option that we can do. We'll set one of those up also, where we can go in and indicate a range of a piece of can information. If it goes out of that range for a set period of time, the person that we've indicated will be notified by that also. Reporting of machine utilization is another part of the fleet side of it, so we can look for the past 7 days, see the graphs and so forth, and again, we'll see that also in there. Service and maintenance interval and tracking obviously is a big selling feature. Being able to keep eyes on that machine, keep it up and running, minimize downtime. Again, top efficiency is where we want to be with everything that we're doing here. And then the quick visualization of key operating parameters that we'll look at. So those are our selling points. I'll turn it back over to Matt, and he can go into detail and show you exactly what we're talking about here. Matt?
Thank you, Kirk. Okay, so we still haven't left off from the farm app. So in order to get into the fleet app, let's go ahead and show you how to navigate to that. So remember, at the beginning of our demonstration here, I talked about these 3 lines on the top left. So we'll click on that to pull out our app drawer. So again, all the way up until this point, we've been in the farm app. Now we're going to change over to the fleet application. So I'm simply going to click on that, and we'll go ahead and give it a little time to load. While we're waiting on that, I'll just remind everybody, I know we've been moving through this fairly steady, so I'm sure there's some questions that are popping up. Please continue to keep note of those and send those up to Leo Bose's email address, and we'll address those towards the end. Okay, so we've arrived into the fleet application. So notice some things have changed on the screen here. First of all, I've got, most notably, I've got a list of connected vehicles. So those vehicle names, some similarities from the farm app that carry over. I still have this search feature. So if I wanted to search out a specific name, I know there's a Magnum 340 in the fleet. I can just simply type in 340, and there it is. I clear out the search bar, and all my vehicles are back again. And again, we have the ability to drill down with this filter tool as well. So I've clicked on this filter tool, and that gives me some drop downs to filter. So if my customer organization had multiple fleets, I would see multiple fleets there. This marketing portal just has one fleet associated. I can also filter by machine type. So if I just wanted to view my combines, I just click on combine and it's filtered out just the combines in my fleet. And then I can go back to viewing all. I can also view my tractors. If I had other vehicles in the fleet, I'd have the ability to filter them out as well. Additionally, if this customer is multi-branded, if we wanted to view just the Case IH machines, we could do that. If I wanted to view my New Holland machines, we could do that as well. And then lastly, we have the ability to filter by models. So if I just want to view a specific model, I can click on that, and it will just drill down that specific model name for me. So click all models, and we'll get them back. Okay, so we are in the fleet overview. Notice here I'm on my overview tab, so we'll continue to talk about this a little bit. My list of vehicles, like I said, next to those vehicles is the alerts associated. We don't have any active alerts for any of those vehicles in the fleet, but like Kirk had mentioned, we've got some low, mid, high level alerts that will show up here. That type of information can come from the display or the A post. So for example, if we had a PF100 fault on the display indicating that the receiver's gone offline, that would actually get communicated back to the portal. So different information like that is viewable to me as a user as I'm studying my fleet and seeing what's going on. Moving over to the right, we have status. So the status of each individual machine. Like I said, we've just got 2 vehicles in the fleet that are active today. So we've got that Magnum 310, again, which is parked outside with the key on. And there was that other machine down in the Delta, which is moving. And then continuing across the screen, we have hours. So I can view the hours that each machine has. And then we also have some custom vehicle parameters. So right now, for example, this 8250 combine is showing fuel rate average. So that's the fuel rate that it's consumed on average, and then engine load. So the machine's not on, so that's showing not applicable. So we have 2 vehicle parameters available here. We can actually customize what shows up on our portal. So if I wanted to, instead of view fuel rate average, I can click on that gear icon next to the custom one. Let me back up so everyone can see that again. So again, this custom one is showing fuel rate average for combines. I can customize this parameter by simply clicking the gear icon next to the first parameter. And that's going to open up this custom parameter selection tool. So for combines, I can choose a particular parameter to show there. So instead of fuel rate average, let's maybe choose a different parameter. Such as engine speed. We'll put that on there. So if I click apply, that's going to show my engine speed. And I can customize the second one as well. So if I wanted to change a different parameter for that, I can put something such as engine oil pressure and put that as well. Okay, so again, just some customizable machine status items. So these are just different parameters that I can view from all my different machines in the fleet. Okay, so that's a high level of the fleet overview. So we'll go back to the top of the screen. Again, we've been on the fleet overview tab. I can also view faults. So if I click on the faults tab, that's going to allow me to view any faults for any of my machines. Looks like we don't have any faults to display for any of these machines, but like Kirk said, those faults would show up here. The status of the fault, the severity of the fault, a fault ID, so basically a fault number. So for instance, PF100. And then the source of the fault, whether that was from the display or an A post or something to that effect. And then I can also filter by the date that the fault occurred. Okay, and for any one of my machines, I can display the faults for them, but it looks like we don't have any faults to show at this time. Now, next I'll click on notifications. So I've clicked on the notifications tab at the top. We'll wait for that to load. Okay, so what I can do here is I can actually create notifications for any particular vehicle. So if I want to receive a text on my phone, an SMS message, when a condition happens at one of my vehicles, I can do that. We can also see some of those notifications show up here on the portal as well. So we've got several different notifications already created here. So one, for example, we've created a notification for low fan speed. So if my fan speed gets below a certain RPM, I've chosen one vehicle in particular that I want to see, and that notification is going to go to one user in particular, and that's going to show up on the web. Okay, so we've got 4 different notifications created for this account. Let's create a new one to give you guys an example of what a notification does and how to use it. So in order to create a new notification, I'm going to go up here to Add New. We'll click on that, and that's going to take me to the notification setup menu. So first thing I need to do is I need to create a name for my notification. So here in the top left, I'm going to create notification name. So let's do elevator speed. So I've created a name called elevator speed, and I'm going to select a specific vehicle for this notification. So I'm going to say for the 8250 combine, I want to be notified when the elevator speed gets to a certain level. So I've created the notification, named it elevator speed. I've chosen a vehicle in the fleet. And all I need to do is move on to the next step of the process by clicking Next. And what that's going to let me to do is create a rule or create the notification for that selected vehicle. So first thing I need to do is select what kind of condition. It's a vehicle parameter. And I need to select what parameter I want to view. So elevator speed, which I know is right here. So we'll select elevator speed. Now I need to select a condition. So when elevator speed gets to a certain condition, I'm going to get notified. So let's say we have the ability to choose equal to, less than, or greater than. I'm going to choose less than. And then step 4 is what's the specific value? Does it have to be less than? So elevator speed, I have RPM. Let's choose 299 RPM. So when that elevator speed for that machine gets below 299 RPM for a time of more than 10 seconds. So step 5 is to choose how much time does that condition exist before I get notified. So I've chosen this example because I know for a fact that if our elevator speed gets below a certain level, we'll no longer be able to log yield. So just the ability to provide a real world example of why we want to create some kind of notification such as this. So if I'm not logging yield at the machine, one of the key things to look for is what are the conditions to log yield. For instance, elevator speed. So we've gone ahead and created the rule, steps 1 through 5. It's a vehicle parameter, elevator speed, less than 299 RPM for 10 seconds. I'm going to select next. Next thing is I'm going to select what users I want notified. So I have a list of users associated with this AFS Connect account. Since Kirk is sitting right next to me to pick on, I'm going to go ahead and select Kirk Wesley. And I'm going to click Confirm. And now I've got a confirmation. Elevator speed has been successfully created. The rule, elevator speed less than 299 RPM for 10 seconds for one vehicle, being that 8250 combine. We're going to notify one user, that's Kirk, and that notification is going to show up for Kirk on the web on this portal. So we'll click OK. And I can see my new rule shows up here on the bottom. And then we can also view a notification history. So any of these new notifications that show up, or any notifications that show up on our portal, I can view a history of that. Also, notifications will show up on the portal here. So when I'm in the Fleet app, where my mouse is here, we see that little triangle with an exclamation point. Any new notifications are going to show up there for me. Right now we don't have any alerts showing up, so nothing has occurred. So that particular machine that I created that notification for, I know is keyed off, so I'm not going to get that notification. Okay, that is a overview of the Fleet notifications. I'm going to back up to the Fleet overview. There was something there that I skipped over that I want to mention. Okay, so we remember this page, my Fleet overview. It shows me a list of all my connected vehicles. We've already covered this. Let's direct our attention to the top right of the screen. So right here, I'm on the list view. If I click on this little icon that kind of looks like a dot from Google Maps, if I click on that, that's going to change me to the map view. So I can view a map of all my connected vehicles. We'll wait for that to load here. Okay, so all my connected vehicles have showed up on the left. We'll go ahead and get all those vehicles centered on the map. So again, like before, we have a little vehicle bubble that indicates where that vehicle is in the world. I have still have that status color next to the vehicle, or on the bubble and next to the vehicle on the left. If I click on a specific vehicle, it will center it on the screen for me. Again, I still have the legend available to me that indicates to me what the status of that vehicle is, so what this color represents. And then if I click on the vehicle bubble, again, I've got this high-level overview for that specific vehicle. I can also click on vehicle details to view some more information about that machine. So we've clicked on vehicle details. And that's going to take me to this vehicle detail page. So here's a little more detailed information about what's happened with that vehicle as far as the vehicle history goes. So here towards the top of the page, I've got vehicle information. There's the name of the vehicle, brand, what the model is. Here's the status of that vehicle at the moment, so I see that it's actually moving. And then here's the fleet name, CIH NAFTA Pro Demo. Then here towards the bottom, I can see a graphical representation of the status for that machine. So it looks like here on the left, this is a particular date, and then here on the bottom of the graph is the time, and then the color represents the different statuses. So for this particular tractor, it looks like it's been in the moving status for the majority of the day here on the 8th. But we can also see the amber representing idle and yellowish for key on. I can select any one of my vehicles to view the parameters associated with each and every one of them. So here I've clicked on the 8250 Combine. Again, it's just all my vehicle information changes here, and I can see a graphical representation of what that machine's done over the past week. Also here on the right, I can see the fuel consumption for that vehicle. So the bottom is the date, and then on the left is the amount of fuel that machine consumed for that day. And I can also see the total amount of fuel consumed in the last 7 days and the average fuel rate in terms of the amount of fuel per hour consumed. Okay, so those are some examples of some highly detailed information that we can see about the individual machines in our fleet. So that concludes everything that I'm going to cover in the Fleet app. So the next thing we're going to dive into is the Data app. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to turn it back over to Kirk here. And Kirk, if you want to give us a little overview on the key selling features to the data app.
Great. Thanks, Matt. The data side of it, again, from the portal side and the viewpoint, this is really one of the more exciting parts of what we're working on with the AFS Connect product. We will and are actively working on third-party providers. The list will grow as we move forward here. This is where a customer may have an existing relationship with a third party. He's got the log-in information and so forth, and he wants to marry his machine information and data in the cloud to move directly to his vendor to move forward and speed up the efficiencies and the ability to move data to and from these preferred partners. So the invite partners, some of the key selling features I should say is you want to invite your partners to connect with you and share the data with them. You would pick this, you've got your login information with the connect button and so forth. We'll go over some of that in the portal also when we get back to Matt. Second bullet point, we want to control the data permissions. This is very important. So we're now dealing a lot with the agronomic data with a lot of this, and we want to leave that information with the customer to work with. And a lot of times, these providers may not be working with the entire farm and field setup that the operator has. They may want to go in and only work with 1, 2, or 10 of their 50 fields, for example. You can go in and you can set that up to where or which fields on your operation you want to share with that particular vendor. The agronomic data will automatically flow if he's got an FMIS that he's hooked to, so it'll automatically flow from the machine to the cloud to the FMIS, and then make the return trip from the FMIS. The data can be sent back to the portal. So to see a little bit and get the experience of what we're doing and talking about on the data side of it, I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Thank you, Kirk. Okay, so again, we haven't left the Fleet app. We're going to direct you back to the left-hand, top left portion of the screen where we find our app drawer. So I've clicked on that. That pulls out my app drawer. And I'm going to click on the data application. So we'll click on data. And we'll allow that to pull up. So when I click on the data application, it takes me to this page first. So it takes me to what's known as the inbox. So I see my inbox tab here towards the top. This is just a history of all the data that's been sent back and forth between the machines and the portal. And it's also will show me a history of the data that's been uploaded manually to the portal as well. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. The next thing we're going to hit on is data access. So I'll click data access. This is what allows me to invite any trusted partners to view data on this portal. So for instance, if I want to invite my seedsman, my seed salesman, or an agronomist to view some of those high detailed maps that we talked about, this is what we're going to do, or this is the part of the portal that's going to allow us to open up that window to that third-party partner. So here on the left-hand side, I have a list of partners. Again, just like before, it's searchable and filterable and sortable, just like every other part of the portal. So you can see I have 3 partners that I have invited to have access to my data on the portal. So if I click on this first one, so I've clicked on John Stratton, that's going to pull up some information about John. So I've granted John information, or granted John access to the portal through this data access tool. So I've allowed him to view my harvesting data. So I see all here a summary of all the things that I'm allowing him to see. I've allowed him to see my harvesting data, planting, spraying, spreading, etc. So basically every field operation that we can show on the portal, John has access to see that. I've also granted him the ability to view setup data, so he can see my boundaries, my swaths, and my landmarks. There's a time frame that I've selected for him to view that information as well. His permission is view only, so he can only view this information. He cannot send anything to any of my individual vehicles, so he's a view only account. So like I said, he's got the ability to see some of those detailed maps that my machines are generating, but he doesn't have the ability to take any data and send it from one machine to the other, or any guidance lines, anything like that. And then he has permission to view all current and future fields. So basically all the fields that I have in my portal currently, and then any future fields that I might generate, fields that are sent in from my connected vehicles, he's going to have access to them as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and show an example of inviting another partner. So what I'm going to do, like I said, we've got 3 partners connected. Let's add an additional partner to view this information. So what I'm going to do, let me back up here. At the bottom of the partner list, I see a plus button. So we've got a circle plus here. I'm going to click on that, and that's going to pull up a box that's going to allow me to send an email invitation. So I'm going to go ahead and just send an email invitation to myself, since I am a trusted agronomist. So matt.kurt@gmail.com. So we're going to put in the partner's email address, and then I have the ability to add a message as well. So if I want to, just for that third-party partner, if I want to put a message in for them, I'll just put in, please view my detailed maps. So we've created this invitation. We've given a little message for that person. I will click send. And then I'll see a confirmation. Your invitation to matt.kurt@gmail.com has been sent. And now I have the option to set up data access, or I can click set up later. So this is where I'm going to go to set up the permissions for that third-party partner as far as what they can and cannot view in the portal. So I'll go ahead and click set up data access so we can see what that process looks like. So that's going to pull up this data access setup window. So I need to decide, okay, do I want to allow Matt Kurt to view all fields and all field data, or do I want to select specific fields for him to see? So I have these 2 radio buttons. I can choose between the 2. Notice when I change from all fields to specific, I get a few more things here towards the top. So I'm going to select specific fields. I'm going to choose next. And now I've got a list of all the fields that I could possibly allow Matt to view. So let's just go ahead and select a few fields. Again, I can search any particular one of these if I want. We'll go ahead and search for Lloyd's as well. So we'll select that one. So I've got 3 fields selected. Again, I had the ability to search, which I demonstrated there. We also can use these drop downs to filter by grower or farm as well. Okay, so we've selected 3 fields for Matt to view. We'll click next. And now I get the ability to choose what kind of operation data Matt can view. So I have the ability to click here to operation data, so he can view all the data, all the different operations that we could possibly log and share back to the portal, or I can select the specific data. So maybe I've got a partner that I only care to share planting data with, or just harvest data. I can choose the specific types of data that they can view in the portal. So for this particular person, I've chosen harvesting and planting. I'll select next again. And then I'll get a confirmation that the invitation was successfully sent. I've granted him access to 3 fields. Your partner will receive a notification, and the data will automatically appear in their portal. You can edit the access settings at any time in the data access page. So we'll go ahead and click OK to acknowledge that. We can see that a invitation has been sent to Matt Kurt. This little icon here represents that we're waiting for Matt to receive that email and actually confirm that they would like to view the data in the portal. So when that confirmation happens, that little icon will go away. Additionally, I can click on this little 3 dots. I can resend the invitation to Matt, or I can remove Matt from my trusted partners. And then here are the 3 dots next to field data. I can revoke access there as well. Okay? And here as well, we see a pending acceptance towards the top. For any of those partners that I've invited that have already accepted access, we won't see any notification there. Okay? So that is how we were going to invite a partner to view my data. We can also allow the partner to share data with me over the portal, so that's what this partner data is for. So for instance, if a partner wanted to share some CN1 data with me, they'd have that ability as well. Okay, so that's data access. The last thing we're going to move on to here is app integrations. So again, top of the page, I'll click on app integrations. This is going to pull up the API partnerships that we can open our portal up to. So there's different FMIS systems that we either currently are going to allow with the portal or are working to gain access to. So if I want to allow any one of those FMISs to have a direct line into my AFS Connect portal, we can do that as well. So for instance, if I was using AgDNA, I could just simply click Connect, and that will open up a direct line between that FMIS and my portal as well. Okay, I think that concludes everything we want to cover for the data portion. So we've demonstrated again the farm, fleet, and data application within the portal. So this has been an overview of everything that the customer is going to have the ability to view, see, and manipulate in the portal. What we're going to do now, since we've demonstrated all these things, we're going to transition to back to Kirk and talk about what things are going to look like on the dealer side as far as setting up a new customer to get their vehicles connected and get them access to this portal. So Kirk, we'll go ahead and kick it over to you.
Thank you, Matt. So what we'll spend a few minutes here doing is we'll walk through the VMS portion. Again, this is the dealer-facing vehicle management system. And the vehicle management system is really where we kind of marry the device with the vehicle itself. So with that, the very first thing that we want to do is create a new customer. When we create that new customer, you can see the button on the bottom of the screen there. You're going to enter his information for his name, the email address, any company details that you want to put into this, and the company name. You kind of got a flavor for what that looks like inside the portal and how that appears, and you can put something together in that fashion to get this set up. So once you've got the customer and his operation in the database, the next thing that you'll want to do is we want to associate the activation and subscription either with an AM53 that you may already have, or in this case, and what I'm going to step you through is the activation with a factory fit. So how do we tell what device is in what vehicle that's out there? So the screen you've got in front of you here, there's a plus button that you're going to add a new vehicle. You can see when you hit that plus button that it opens up some choices. We'll choose the vehicle up there on the top. And then the next thing we open up is the adding a vehicle wizard, basically. So across the top there, you'll see a procedure or a process that we're going to step through. We're going to add the vehicle first. So what you're going to do is you're going to locate the VIN number that you're going to take or you're going to activate. When you find that VIN number, you enter it in there and do a search, and then it finds that vehicle in the database, and you get the checkbox over to the right there. So you've got the assigned devices and so forth next to it. The next thing that's going to happen is you're going to enter a TDAC. There is a TDAC code in each machine in our 2019 fleet, so our combines, our four-wheel drives, and our Magnums for 2019 will each have a location that this TDAC is on board with the installed modem, and you're going to do a process here to go in and connect the vehicle VIN with the modem device that's in the vehicle. You can see across the top there, so we've got the vehicle added, and then we're going to go through a confirm process. In the confirmation, we'll press confirm, and then the vehicle now knows what modem is on board the device itself or the platform. Okay, so fairly straightforward just to go through and pull that together. Once the vehicle is got the device in it, what we want to move towards is the device activation. So again, we want to get the data plan active, we want to get the subscriptions that we're going to use. So what you're going to see is a device activation similar to this, and we're going to request activation as we move through it. So when we hit the request activation button, the request is sent, and on the portal itself, as you're watching that, what you're seeing is the pending activation down there. So it's in process. When you see the pending activation yellow script on there on the bottom right in this example, and you can see what we're bringing to this is we've got the AM53 telco activation, and we've got the telematics, advanced, and file transfer. So what you've got down there, if you look at the price list, is basically the basic and the advanced plus file transfer that we're bringing to these devices. When the process takes place, and you can see that there's a key cycling that's going to take place, there's a procedure here that we're going to do, and then making the machine sure that it's in open sky again. We're working with the satellite side of it and making sure that we've got good communication both with the cellular and the connectivity on the device itself. So we don't want to be in a building or anywhere that we've got kind of a hard way to get signal to it, or something that's going to block some signal. Once things happen, you can see that we've got now a device that's active, it's subscribed, the expiration dates are visible. You can maintain, if a customer wants to know when is this going to expire, or whatever the case might be, you can monitor everything from this portal or this page, the VMS system, and we will have notifications come up prior to keep the customers all in the know of when something may expire as they go forward. Okay? So that's a fairly straightforward process of what we're doing with the VMS side of the equation. Another point, just a couple slides that I want to step on or step into here regarding the migration. We can take data off the current portal and we can migrate that, and we're going to be inviting folks to be doing that starting at the Farm Progress Show for the weeks and months to follow. It's a choice that a customer can make when he wants to migrate over to that. We realize we're coming into a busy time of year in harvest. They may not be comfortable at that time to make those changes. But basically what we're doing, and the timeline that we're looking at to share with everyone on the call here today, is we've got a targeted migration of folks that we're going to do starting at Farm Progress, and again moving through the rest of the year with a required migration happening in January. So what does that mean? What we've got in the first step, and I'll show you the list of invited current portal users that we've got out there. And I'll give you kind of a summary of where we sit as a brand with our AM53s and even some AM50s that are out there that we're going to have to bring in for the devices that are in the fleet currently. We're also going to go in that second bullet point under targeted migration. Each DAB member, we're going to also have them, we've been working with them, we're going to invite or have them invite one of their customers to also experience and gain the feedback with from this portal through the DAB member and back to us. The last thing down there, obviously, all of our Model 19 factory fit owners, this is the site that they're going to experience when they want to go online. We are not going to allow going back to the old site with the new devices. So right from the get-go, what you just had shown to you by Matt is what they're going to experience out of the gate. The other thing, the next one that happens in the November-December timeframe is what we call a voluntary migration. Any current and or past AFS Connect portal users are invited to migrate as they feel comfortable and get into the new portal. When we move into January, basically this is a required migration. We are in the process of shutting down the old portal in January, so we're going to be supporting and moving forward with our new AFS Connect portal that we just showed you. Okay. As a review for the opportunity, I just wanted to give our internals and where we're at here a little bit. I said one of the very first groups that we're going to go and activate are current users. So users that are on and actively using the modems through the springtime of this year of 2018, we wanted to take a look at. But to move back a little bit further from where we're at right now, the total modems that are out there since June of 2014 were 1,190 total modems. These are AM50s and AM53s that are out that we are going to readdress. We're going to approach them, have a discussion with the dealership. You can see there's 161 dealership locations that make up those almost 1,200 modems that are out in the environment right now. 186 of those are AM50s, and actually the AM50s, which is fairly old legacy product there are 51 of those that are actually still active out there. That leaves us right around 1,000 AM53s that are in some state that we need to approach and bring them back, invite them back with the new portal and what we're working with the dealers. This spring we had 432 active for the springtime. 218 of those, in 2018 we sold or had 59 dealerships that were addressing those 432 active AM53 and AM50 modems. As we move into the current time of year of what we can do, and we're working with the 294 owners, modems that are owned by our 9 dealerships. And you can see in the map down in the bottom left there of where these are kind of positioned throughout North America. Over on the right gives you kind of a flavor of the big users. I basically looked at the database that you see on the left of 1,190, filtered those out of dealerships with 10 or more modems, and those are the results over on the side. So 294 of our AM53 and AM50 modems are run through 9 dealerships and the companies that you see on the right. So those are the ones that we're going to first go after and address and try and bring those online, working directly with the dealerships approaching their customer and inviting them to migrate their information into the new portal. So with that, we will now shift gears and we will hand it over to Chris, and we will go into another exciting portion of our presentation today. Chris?
Thanks, Kirk. So before we get into the details of the Climate Corporation AB line sharing feature, I want to clarify a couple points that we may have missed with the AFS Connect portal, one of which being mobility. So we understand the need for remote management moving forward and having access to these features on a mobile device. So at launch, the AFS Connect portal that you just saw will be available on a tablet in a mobily optimized sense. So you can save the URL to the home screen of an iPad as an example and launch that just as you would an app. So very easily accessible. Another piece I want to clarify is everything that we saw with Matt and Kirk is available on an AM53 equipped vehicle. We've talked a lot in the last 6-8 months, a year, about the future of AFS moving into a different structure of technology. But everything that we saw here will be available with AM53 vehicles, including the model year 19 factory fit vehicles that we had talked about earlier. So with that being said, we've talked a lot today about strategic partnerships. One of those that we announced at the beginning of this year was with Climate Corporation. And so what I want to talk through today is the first of many enhancements that will be specific to a Climate Corp Case IH vehicle relationship. And so what we see on the screen here is a graphic that depicts AB line sharing between a Case IH piece of equipment that is equipped with what we see here, and we'll talk through this, from one vehicle to another, or critically from one vehicle to several others. So what's required to do this? We need to have, obviously, our Case IH piece of equipment equipped with a Pro 700. That Pro 700 is going to require an upgrade. Each Pro 700 will require an upgrade. That $250 that we see here is per Pro 700. That's still a bit TBD, but that's very close to what we will offer. Also required, a Climate Field View Plus subscription. So this is acquired through Climate. There are numerous other features available with this app. I would encourage you to visit Climate's website to get a little bit more information on that, but that helps facilitate this AB line sharing process. In addition to that, we need a Field View Drive, which is available through Climate, as well as a tablet with Climate's Field View Cab app. And so we take a look at what we have here on the table, right? And before we get into this, let's understand we have numerous scenarios as we look at costing. We know we have Case IH planners that are equipped with precision planning equipment, many of which utilize a 2020 along with the Field View Drive cab, or with the Field View Cab app. So we may have situations where you have a customer starting from scratch that would need possibly all of these components. We may have scenarios where we have customers with 2 or 3 planner and Case IH tractor equipment at this point that would just need the display unlock. So understand that there's a spectrum of different customer use cases there. So focusing in on what we're showing here on the table, as we've talked about, I have 2 tablets here. Both are equipped with the Climate Field View Cab app. I have 2 Pro 700s here, both equipped with the Field View Drive, as we've discussed. This Field View Drive, as we have it set up on this independent harness, can be adapted like this. There's a Y harness that splits this in the back. This can also be installed on the CAN connector of a tractor or a combine. So this Y harness is not necessary in all applications. So I mentioned we have to have an unlock for the display for this to take place. And so we take a closer look at what we're actually seeing on the display, and I want to go ahead and demo how quickly the AB line is shared from one display to another. David touched on the fact earlier that we have 2 solutions, and I want to provide clarity there. The AB line sharing as it exists through AFS Connect is focused more on a seasonal or a day-to-day startup. It's not probably as instantaneous as what most producers are going to demand as 2 units pull into the field in a planting or a harvesting situation. This solution is instantaneous. So I have a guidance line created on this display. We can see heading 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that. We can see our options here. The final one is share. I'm going to hit share, and it says that I've shared, and you can see within literally a half a second at the most, that line populates on our other Pro 700. We then import that line, and it asks if we want to switch to this swath, just as it would if we had created a new guidance line in this display. And we say yes, and you can see we've now switched to that swath. Very quick, very efficient. We're very excited to bring this to market. Again, this will be something that we highlight at Farm Progress 2018. We will have this on display. Again, I encourage you to keep in mind the benefits of what I just showed and what Matt and David showed earlier, and how they're differentiated and what grower applications they apply to. So, with all that being said, we've talked about a lot of new technology that's becoming available. One of the critical, arguably one of the most critical pieces of that is how we're going to support that technology. And so we have Carmen Strimzik here, who's the manager of our technical support group. Carmen and company have worked very hard on developing a structure to put in place that will allow us to adequately support everything we've talked about today. So, Carmen?
Thanks, Chris. So I'm going to go over the Precision Operations Support Team. The Precision Operations Team has been in place for a little under a year. It was put in place to better support our precision products as well as the next generation architecture that's coming. So just to go over the entire precision support team, they got the technical support piece, which is under Greg Linka, the operations piece, which is under Amanda Mediard, and then the connected access, which is under Justin Rodriguez. Just a quick overview, the technical support basically supports the on-equipment OEM and aftermarket. The operations team, that's the team that's going to support the Connect portals, licenses and activations, and machine and system operations. And then the connected assets, they support the RTK network, the servers, and the base stations. For the purposes of this discussion, we're going to focus on the operations team, which is under Amanda Mediard. So basically, there are three main ways you can get into the operations team. The 866 number is still the primary contact channel for operational questions, so that does include the Connect portals. Earlier this week, we implemented the chat feature on the dealer portal. One of the big benefits of using the chat feature on the portal is that we can screen share. So in terms of Connect portal issues or questions, that might be a more viable support channel to use rather than the phone number. And we also have AgriSync. AgriSync is still technically in a pilot, but we are using it more and more within the support team. AgriSync is an app that you can download to your smartphone. Dealers can download to their smartphones. It's basically a see what I see type of support channel. They can contact us via AgriSync, and then we can set up an AgriSync video call and screen share that way also. So that was just a real quick overview of the operations group and how to contact us.
All right, again, I'd like to thank you for attending the webinar here today. However, we do want to close this out when we look at the Q&A session that we had, and appreciate all the support and the emails sending in questions. And what we're going to do actually right now is, and again, we look at the questions you submitted, we're actually going to jump back into the AFS Connect portal and answer some of those questions and give you a live demonstration of some of those questions that you brought up. So I'm just going to bring up the Word document, and Matt is alongside of me here, and again, appreciate Matt. And you see this is a collective effort from all the groups within CNH as well as Case IH. So behind the scenes, we've been able to get the answers for you, and we want to walk this through you. So first one came in from Marty Chamberlain up in the Western region, up in Canada. And we talked about field 28. You had 111 acres combined from 3 fields. Can you easily break up the file to have the yield data on the specific fields?
Okay, so we'll go ahead and pull up that field 28. So what Marty's talking about is this field that I pulled up earlier and mentioned, okay, we've got yield data that's showing up under one field name, so Wilson, Grower Wilson, Farm Bar, field 28. And we've got data logged in multiple fields underneath that grower farm field name. What happened there was the operator was under that grower farm field on their display when they were harvesting. They harvested a little bit in one field, and then they moved on to the next field and started harvesting without changing the grower farm field name. So we've got yield data logged for multiple fields in one field name. So to answer your question, Marty, this is not an FMIS, so we're not manipulating data in here. It will only show the data that comes in as is from the portal. or from the machine and from the modem. So we cannot actually manipulate and divide those individual fields into unique field names because this is not an FMIS. This is a Connect portal. But I did mention earlier that we have the conflicts option under field data. So if the Connect portal recognizes that, okay, I've got some operation data from a particular field under a specific grower farm field name, and then some yield data comes in later on under a different grower farm field name, but it's for that same geospatial area, the portal is going to recognize that as a conflict, and it's going to ask me, okay, you've got this yield data that's come in. Would you like to associate that yield data with this grower farm field name from the planting operation? So we have a little bit of ability to manipulate in the fact that we can resolve some conflicts with geospatial data not matching up where the portal thinks it should be based on previous data. But as far as high-level manipulation, we do not have that ability.
Great, thanks, Matt. And one of the additional questions or a follow-up from Marty, I believe, was on that same map that we showed, on that moisture map, and maybe we can bring that up when we take a look at that farm. And again, we've got farm, fleet, and data, so we're going to focus back in on that farm, specifically that field. We want to look at the brown spots on that moisture map, and maybe we can interpret it there. And understanding that we didn't harvest that field, but in the same token, we can look at the legends specifically on what maybe that brown relative to that moisture is.
Okay, so this is the field we were looking at before. Marty's asking specifically about the moisture map. So anything that's brown or reddish is going to be a value below, for brown, below 8% moisture, and red below 5% moisture. So it very well could be that, yeah, the moisture was that low there. It could be that maybe the machine stopped. We didn't have the header was still down, so it was still, the machine was still in a logging state, but we didn't have any crop touching the moisture sensor, so maybe that would indicate why that value is there. But again, this type of map, it's going to basically represent whatever data was logged. The conditions that created that data, for instance, we might have to go in and investigate on the ground.
Yep, perfect. Another question then, we could leave that map up there from Sam Aker. The legend intervals are very odd, or it seems that they're out 2 decimal places. Would it be easier to understand if they're whole numbers or most were 0.5 intervals? And follow up through our program manager, Don Stratton, most of the legends will be that 0.1 decimal plates. So we will have that as we get into launch here within August. So we just wanted to follow up with Sam on that one. One of the questions that came in from Dave Henderson on the marketing team, can a dealer assign access to the entire fleet to multiple dealers regardless of the selling dealer? An example, a customer who purchased it from 2 different Case IH dealers or a Case IH dealer or New Holland dealer, what possibilities do we have? And we can show you this where the customer would grant or decides who he or she has access to. So we let that producer grant that access to that dealer. Okay. One of the other questions, James Shack came in, will the My Case IH app be an app, phone, or tablet immediately or eventually? So the mycaseih.com is, again, that owner's site. We'll be launching that at the Farm Progress Show here at the end of August. You saw the migration plan that Kirk Wesley had went through. So as we walk through this migration plan, we look at that August and we get into that October, November time period. We will migrate customers into this site, as well as will it be access through a browser? Yes, you saw it would be through a portal access, so I can then access it through a tablet, and mobility is that next step or into the future as well. So we're going to step through that. And again, we just want to back up. You had saw the vehicle management system, and just to be clear, when we take a look at our model year 19 products, again, that would be Magnums, Steigers, and Combines. We're shipping those in base from the factory with AM53, modem that you could see the data that we had from our 50 series pilot machines running in the field with our pro demo team. So again, that's live data that you're actually seeing and actually using. Let's look at next question. I think comes back from Marty Chamberlain. He gets our award for Western Canada. Is there a conflict resolution with duplicate serial numbers? And Marty had sent in a screenshot from the video. Actually, we've kind of moved around a couple AM53s, so that's why you're seeing a duplicate serial number within it, specifically for us in the portal. One question that came in from Derek Barr, Precision Farming Specialist. In the fleet view, when we're looking at hours, can I sort by hours? An example, a customer has 30 Magnums, 310s for example, and he wants to sort it from where the unit has the most hours to show up to the top. And again, through John Stratton, our program manager, that has been identified for future enhancements as we move into next installments for AFS Connect. As we look at a couple of the other questions, there was from Andy Strickland, are the shown APIs working today? So the shown APIs that you've seen on the screenshot were the first step working with those providers, and that's that first step to get them to, one, work with us, but there's also a second, third, and a final step to look at integrating with those providers. So you can see we're still in that preliminary phase working with our product development team. Longer term, there was a question that came in, where do we stand on getting the API to granular from Darren Heights? You know, those, when we look at whether it be Kirk Wesley or Chris Dempsey, you know, our top 3 to top 5 API partners that we want to connect with, and granular is one of those. You know, we have those on a list. We're working with the product development team to get those connected through the API interface. Okay. And last one, Matt, I think if I grant access to all fields and then add some additional fields later, do I have to give access to those new fields or others manually? Is there an alert message or something that would direct me to the fact that isn't shared with others? Same or on the fleet sharing with dealers as with new equipment is added or removed? And that came from Dave Henderson.
Okay, so I think if I understand the question right, Dave, you're asking, so if I grant access to a seedsman or an agronomist, for instance, when I create new fields, say in my display, will that third-party partner be able to view those fields? When I create the access for that partner, I'll just use this John Stratton one as an example. I can specifically choose what fields that I want them to view, or I can choose all current and future fields. So when I'm creating that user, if I configure that user to see all current and future fields, any additional fields that I create with the display and get sent back to the portal, that partner will be able to view those fields.
Okay. So the questions that we have, we're going to, again, further follow up on the details, specifically on the questions. We'll send the FAQ document out to the field team. And again, what we showed you today was our precision products and giving you those solutions into the marketplaces. You know, we get ready for not only the launch here at Farm Progress Show with the updates to AFS Connect, but over the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see products that are going to be introduced. In fact, you're going to have the opportunity to be in Phoenix with us and actually see the new products within the field. So what we do want to leave you with is what we have today to give solutions to the customers within the marketplace, you know, day-to-day solution sets that allow them to see not only their farm, their fleet, and their data to make those decisions, whether that's through our AFS Connect portal or our second providers, which is Climate and those other providers. So with that, we'll wrap up this AFS new product session, and thanks for joining.